Hello, 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 ladies. Welcome back to my podcast. This is Ebony Phoenix Live. And I'm like a bad penny or gum on your shoe. I ain't going nowhere. We have on the line lovely Gray Goddess today, and we are going to talk about dating for the divested. Hello, Gray Goddess. How you doing?
Hello, I am doing well, and I hope everyone else is tonight.
Great. I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so glad that you took the time to come on this podcast and share some wisdom. Now, this is dating for the divested, okay? And it seems to me that the Black women in this world are making the world better for Black men and everybody else, but not for themselves. And I would really like for Black women in the U.S. as well as the diaspora to be able to navigate the dating scene without risking our lives. Okay, and so we want to go ahead and get into it. All right, Gray Goddess, thank you again for being here. And how long have you been divested?
I've been divested for 4.5 years now.
And what brought you to that decision finally? What was the straw that broke the camel's back, or were there many little instances that made you think, hey, maybe there's another way to live?
Well, before that, I had already been tired of the shenanigans from the Black community and Black males. And I had already left emotionally and mentally, but I had not left physically. And the straw that broke the camel's back for me was just, I was in an engagement. I was engaged at the time to a Dusty, and I found out 6 months into the engagement that he was a overt narcissist. And I just ended things all in one day, and I never looked back, and I officially left Blackistan. So that's how I ended up divesting fully and completely, and also physically.
Good for you. Good for you. You started thinking about yourself, right?
Oh, yes. And you know what? I had already been thinking about myself. I just hadn't put certain things into action. But I made up my mind that it was time for me to start being more selfish and self-absorbed.
Now, what really surprises me is, you can actually apply this to individuals as well as the Black collective or any collective of people. How can someone or any collective claim that they care for you and not care whether you live or die? Make it make sense. And so basically, that's what we're going to try to parse together today. Divested dating is different from any other type of dating, wouldn't you say, Gray Goddess?
It most definitely is. I'd agree with that.
And in what ways do you think it should be different? How is it different?
You mean, how do I think dating should be different?
Yeah, for divested women.
I feel like dating should be different for divested women due to the fact that We are taught and brainwashed to believe certain things. And I think the first step for dating to be different is for you to unlearn and relearn different ways to engage, and not only with yourself, but with the opposite sex as well. And that's going to take some personal, work and personal investment, and being patient with yourself and forgiving yourself, and also being open-minded and open to learning a new way of doing things and a new way of being.
Can you elaborate for us? This is exciting. Now when we say divested, ladies, we're talking about not dating within the Black diaspora, okay? So it is exclusionary, but there are other exclusionary tactics. So can you give us some of your thoughts on that? Examples.
Well, I would, yeah. Well, my first example would be that when you change your thinking and when you actually are open to dating other ethnicities and dating outside of Blackistan, first of all, I would say still have your boundaries. Have your boundaries still, regardless as to what color or ethnicity the man is, and stick to your guns. Don't let anyone try to push your boundaries. We do not welcome or deal with boundary pushers.
Okay, that's a wonderful first point. Basically, know what your boundaries are. Now, what type of boundaries are you speaking of? Are you speaking of physical, sexual boundaries? Are you speaking of privacy boundaries? Are you speaking of financial boundaries? Let's take one of those.
Well, I will say all of the above. I would say physical, of course, physical boundaries. Don't let anyone physically overpower you or get violent with you or physically aggressive with you. I would say that's always good. Also, when you're dating, don't allow anyone to know where you live. When you date, always date out. Excuse me. Always date out in public. And also don't go over to their place. Dating is when you are collecting information to see if you and that person are compatible. Also, while dating, this is the time where sex should not be being involved. That's what dating is. Dating is collecting information without including sex.
And dating is not really courting like the old days, but in a way it is. There's no sexual component. You are basically doing your own emotional reconnaissance.
Right. I'd agree. And also, when you have your boundaries, your emotional boundaries with letting people get close, you don't have to tell every single thing about you. Let them earn, if when you're dating, to know and learn things about you and to know personal things about you. But you shouldn't just come right out with any man that you're dating and just tell them every single thing about you.
Definitely not in the
need to
beginning.
know.
Definitely, definitely. Especially if you haven't known this person an entire year. And let's talk about, so we talk about the physical boundaries. We all have our physical boundaries. Nobody can touch me here. Nobody. Those are different for whatever a woman's comfort level is. And that's a very, very, very good one. And then there's the privacy boundary that you just elaborated on. Keep things about you, key components about your life, very private, and until you get enough information on this guy. Now, right now, we are talking about heterosexual dating. The next broadcast will be speaking about non-heterosexual dating and how it can be different. But for now, we're speaking of heterosexual man-woman dating. So we talked about the privacy boundary, the physical boundary, What about financial boundaries? Because one problem in the Black collective that I have heard, and I actually have experienced myself, is that men within, oh, um, you know, a few weeks of knowing you, they're borrowing money. Let's talk about that.
I feel like most of the time that only really happens in Blackistan. Most men in other ethnicities and other races, they have their own money and they generally are already financially stable. So they don't have those.
And you said something very, very interesting about, you know, you first meet someone who is asking for loans. What did you say about that? Would you please repeat that? I think that's a very good point.
Oh, okay. What I said about that is that if you're dating out, most men are financially stable and they don't ask for money nor expect anything from you financially. To be honest, I think that's mainly just a Blackistan, black male situation where they expect money from women. So I feel like if you date out, that's probably not going to be a situation that you're going to run into 9 times out of 10. I mean, I know there are dusty men of all races, but generally you won't run into situations like that if you date out.
Yes, there are degenerate baby men of all ethnicities and colors and creeds and races. So we, a man is a man is a man at the end of the day, right? But what you do want to date is a man. So I think the money thing at the beginning is a red flag, of course. Um, and what else is a red flag in terms of financial boundaries? D- don't get some don't have some guy borrowing money from you is number one. Another, would you agree? Another one is asking your whole financial details when you first start dating. I think that's also a red flag. What do you think?
He said asking for financial details.
Like, oh, how, do you own your house, your car, your da 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 da, all that kind of stuff. In the beginning when you're dating somebody, because then they're trying to find out some preliminary information. Yeah, but I think that's a little upfront. Get to know each other as people, some basics, names, kind of what you're looking for, instead of just going through trying to get somebody's whole financial profile in an early dating stage. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I just feel like certain business, as we stated before, is your business and it's not anybody's business. Also, about the dating, I would like to add about dating the correct way. A date isn't Netflix and chill. A date isn't them coming over to your house and you cooking for them, or vice versa, or you going over to their house and them cooking for you. The first 5 dates need to be not at anyone's place of residence. At
I,
least the first 5 dates. I would say more, but if you're going to do the lesser, the first 5 dates need to be in a public, neutral place, not at anyone's home where you guys have the ability to be alone too quickly. Because the ability to be alone too quickly leaves the door open for sex to happen too quickly.
it's a red flag. It's definitely a red
Yeah.
flag, because then you have someone who can violate your physical boundaries too soon, and or ever. No one should ever violate a boundary. People should be given permission, express permission to do anything to another person. Exactly. So yeah, I would be suspicious of a male person that you've just met, who want to know where you bank, whether or not you own your home, whether or not you own your car, what kind of car you have, what kind of job. That's not first date stuff. That comes later. You talk. Basically, the big thing about dating is talking. You do more talking than anything else. Would you agree or disagree?
I do agree. And for the younger ones, the younger listeners that we may have, you have to actually talk to people. People present differently online when you talk, from talking online to texting, and then from texting to actually verbal communication. And I would say, don't try to make plans to meet with a guy unless or until you get his phone number and you guys have at least 2 to 3 different phone conversations, so you guys can actually talk and ask each other questions, get to know things about one another, and then decide if you want to meet from there. Because and being single and dating, I have come to realize that a lot of times you can have 1 or 2 conversations with someone and you can realize that you guys don't have anything in common. So there's no need to move forward with making plans to meet face to face. So there is a certain way in which things should be done, that I think, a certain order that I think sometimes people just don't realize or pay attention to. But we need to start back implementing the order in which things should be done the right way.
And I think you did bring up a good point. One thing I also would like to add, going to a loud concert is not a good first date. Okay. You barely know each other's names. It's okay to go out and have a good time, but a loud concert is a bad first date because you don't get to talk to the guy hardly at all. You're listening to or watching or a concert. And just a plain old dinner and a movie is fine. So you can talk. You can watch the movie, but then you can glean a lot from a person's body language, demeanor, and things like that way. What do you think?
Oh, I most definitely agree with that. But I feel like in order for you to feel comfortable, there should be the phone calls, getting used to talking to that person, hearing their voice, hearing what they sound like over the phone. You can hear the excitement and the expression or whatever emotion, in someone's voice. So like I said before, I would not suggest just messaging and texting and making plans to meet without exchanging phone numbers and actually talking over the phone to each other first a few times and getting comfortable there. And then moving forward, we're making plans for dinner and things of that nature, to sit down and talk. A place where you guys can sit down and talk. You can't really talk at the movies. I feel like making a movie date is something that should be later on.
Definitely.
Been talking and gotten comfortable with each other.
Definitely.
Which, I have a formula to that, and we could go over that on another episode.
Wonderful. And yes, you have to be around the guy and watch his body language. If he's if you're going out with this person more, you decided that you're going to take it forward and you're going to go do some things with this guy. Don't just narrow it down to one guy all at once. Meet different people, especially if you're dating online. No one has a right to give you a lockdown at the beginning of the dating, the time of dating. And I guess dating means different things to different people. And for a lot of folks, that has become synonymous with sex. No, especially with the younger. No, not yet. Find out about this person a little bit more first. And so when you do start, doing things more together, watch this guy. What does he do when he's disappointed? Does he throw his fist against the wall? Does he seem very annoyed and agitated to the point that he cannot contain himself? What else would you say, Gray Goddess?
I would say also, when you talk to someone and ask them questions and you're engaged in a conversation, that allows you to get a feel for how they think about things. Because if you hear how someone thinks about things, you can just about tell how they will react to certain things or how they will behave in certain situations. That's why the talking is very important, actual verbal conversation, because people say different things via text versus when they're in actual real time verbal conversation.
Exactly. In real life is best. Definitely. Because if you're going to be sharing parts of your life with this person, you definitely need to get a good idea of who you're dealing with. And so that you can be comfortable in different scenarios with this person. Um, and definitely, if you see any warning signs like, him getting aggressive early on, even on the phone, or if you're talking to him and he's on his phone, no. If he wants to text all the time and then meet up for sex, that's a no. That's a red flag. Okay. That is a big red flag. He's not interested in you.
That could also, you know what? That also could mean that when someone only wants to text you all the time, that they live with someone.
Oh God, yes, definitely.
You have to pay attention to when they're texting and when they're talking to you. If to me, it doesn't matter whether you like to talk on the phone or not. When you like someone and they're interested in you, they're going to want to talk to you, whether that's their forte or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because people have gotten so comfortable with the texting, that's not really something that they really think about much anymore. And it's like a lot of men do lie about their situation, and they do live with other women. But if you're only texting all the time, you don't have the opportunity to talk, because that will help you be able to recognize a pattern or when he's available to talk. Sometimes men only talk when they're at work. You have to pay attention to that, because if he only is able to talk while he's at work and then he's never able to talk anymore after work, more than likely he's not able to talk because he lives with someone and he doesn't want anyone to hear his phone conversation. So he'll text you.
And there's
subtle things like that I feel like women need to pay attention to, that they overlook.
definitely that is a wonderful point. And there is a difference between reasons and excuses. Okay. Now, I can, if someone, let's say you've got something planned with a young man or a gentleman, and he couldn't make it. He just couldn't make it. Something happened. Okay, fine. But if that happens more than once or twice, that's an excuse. That's not a reason. Okay. What do you think, Great Goddess?
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think too that comes along with with women not being naive, because a lot of times women will do the giving someone the benefit of the doubt, which I hate that statement so much, because I feel like it makes women be delusional or feel like they have to live up to this ideology that if they try to be quote unquote positive all the time, that somehow that makes them be the bigger person or look better or look noble or look like they're being a good woman if they don't rush to judgment. But a lot of times that's where we get fucked up at, is because we'll have things happening right in front of us, but because we don't want to seem like a bitch or seem mean or not seem nice, quote unquote, another word I hate, that gets attached to women, that can basically just make you be willingly naive. And you don't want to be willingly naive. You want to be open and in your right mind at all times.
You definitely want to be able to take the right perspective and see things for what they are, or basically really interpret things well. And yes, you definitely, that's a wonderful point. Don't look over a red flag. Now, there's a list of red flags that I have. Okay. And I want to share those. And Great Goddess, if you have a list, I would like for you to share those too. But my red flags, these are reasons I would definitely not even go on a second date with a person, or would not even go on a date with a person. Number one, he's a felon. Okay. If he has a record, now I guess if he's, marching in the streets and civil disobedience, that's the only one I would take. Any other charges in the justice system, I would not date that person. Period. Okay, and I'm sure that there are people out there who've turned around their lives, blah, 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 whatever, but that person is not for me. Okay, so I would not date a felon, number one. Number two, I would not date someone who does not work. Okay, if he does not have a job, I would not date him. That a lot of people are between jobs, or that I'm not saying that someone's not switching a job or stepping up in their company, or the company downsized or whatever, and they've transitioned to something else. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about men who do not work. Okay. And if he is beyond 40 and he still doesn't know what he wants with his life, that's a red flag too. I wouldn't date that person either. He seems a little confused about what he wants out of life. And a lot of times people have transitions in their lives. I mean, everybody's had those. I mean, I've transitioned, but that doesn't mean I did not know where I was going. Okay. There are men out there who drift from thing to thing, and they don't work. And they have long periods when they are not working. That's a no. Next, if he has more than one child and never married any mother, no, I will not date that person at all. Now, a person who had one child and things didn't work out, whatever, that's one thing. But if he's had 2, 3, 4, 5 and never married any of those women, no. And if he's under 30 and he has a whole bunch of kids by women he never married, or he's not even with anymore, and he's trying to get with you, nah, ixnay. Put a big fat stop to that one. Another one, drug use. That's a no. Okay. And I won't date a bisexual man at all, ever. What about you, Gray Goddess? What are some of the red button absolute no-goes you have on your list?
You said you already covered many of them.
Married, no married dudes. Nope. And when Gray Goddess was talking about watch when he talks to you, because I got caught up in that once. I didn't realize that the man was married until I found out, and then I ditched him as quick as possible. But yeah, I mean, some people will go through elaborate ruses and lies to get you trapped. So, that's a no.
Yeah. Yes. You know what? I can't really think of anything to add to that list, because what you said are all reasons, and men with those characteristics are men that I avoid as well. But if I do think of another reason to add, I will circle back to that.
And if he has been in a domestic partnership and has not been married, but he has been living with or been with a woman long term, he's married. You leave him alone. You deserve better than that. You don't have to share a man. Okay. Black women are lovely, and they don't have to share a man. Okay. So you don't, that's a no. Now, if you start dating somebody and you're excited about him and it's always the ex-girlfriend's fault or the ex-wife's fault, ditch him as quick as you possibly can, because that person is a narc. And that person can be possessive, obsessive, and just plain old crazy and has nothing for you, but he wants everything from you. Ditch him, okay? Because it can't always be her fault, so-and-so's fault, or I went out with somebody who blamed his for everything. No. That's a no. That's a no-no. Don't even look at him twice. Move on.
That's point to make when you talk to someone. But see, that's why you have to talk, because most of the time, those are not conversations that are going to be brought up or had during a text message. So that's why I like to stress the importance of actually talking on the phone to someone who you're interested in quite a few times before you make plans to try to meet. Because like I stated before, a lot of times you will talk. Once you get someone on the phone and they start going, it's different than just going back and forth through text. They will talk about different subjects that they don't feel comfortable or not even thinking about to discuss via text.
Exactly.
So if you run across someone where you guys are talking and everything is everybody else's fault and they never do anything wrong, that's a huge red flag.
Definitely.
Those are narc characteristics.
Definitely. Oh, and another thing though, a lot of men don't have the best verbal skills. Okay, they don't have the best soft skills, and that's okay. But when you find somebody who is very secretive about their life, very secretive, if he's interested in you, he's going to share it. If he's not that interested in you and he's just looking for a fling, he's not going to tell you anything that's deep or meaningful. Okay. So watch for that, and watch. I know this this may be very obvious. Don't the sex, don't introduce that very soon. Don't do that. Because there are a lot of people who want to try you out. There are a lot of people out there, especially if you're a divested Black woman, and there are plenty of men out there who've always wanted to, have sex with a Black woman. We're talking about somebody who's of substance, okay? Don't do that. You're too precious to be tried on like a pair of shoes, okay? And you're too precious to be used like Kleenex, unless that's what you want also, okay? If you just want to fling, you want to fling, okay? But, you're not a pair of shoes to be tried on and then discarded. And I see that a lot. So if he's not patient enough to talk with you, find out about you, find out what makes you happy, what pisses you off, what makes you sad, then he's not worth dating long term. You have anything to add to that, Gray Goddess?
No, I would just like to agree. That was very well said.
And as far as, a lot of people have a list of things that they check off. You're going to look different when you're 15, when you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, and beyond. Looks are important. You have to be attracted to the person that you wish to date. But, if he has an 8-pack and he's in the gym all the time, looking at himself in the mirror, that's a red flag too. Because nothing is going to come before his workout. Now, if you're both workout fiends, great. But he needs to not look at you, not look at himself so much and look at you. And if that's an issue, that can be a red flag with some guys. Now, some guys are just gym rats, okay? That's how they cool down. That's how they, get their heads clear and basically stay healthy too. But when he's all about himself, that's another red flag, and not about you, the woman that he's trying to woo. Kick him to the curb. He has to go. Take him out with the trash. Let somebody else have him. He's not worthy of you if he's not willing to try. And if he's not willing to put some sentences together and talk to you, he's not worth it. Especially with online dating. So, Great Goddess, I want to talk about the online dating sphere. That seems to be the way most people meet these days. What is your general impression of online dating?
My general impression of online dating is that it can be very time-consuming and wasteful.
How do you mean? Explain, please.
Time-consuming I mean, by, meeting so many, well, semi-meeting so many different people. And wasteful is because you're meeting so many different people, but nothing is actually happening. It's the same circular conversations with the same behavior happening over and over, but nothing is actually happening of any benefit, mainly for the woman.
Okay. It's like a catalog. I mean, it's given a lot of men the false impression that they can date above what they could attain, I guess, in a way. And that goes for women
Oh,
too.
yes.
Yeah, for women too. And these dating gurus on YouTube, leave them alone. They're not worth your penny. They're not worth your time of day. A lot of them are not even dating, and a lot of them are not even in relationships. So how can they tell you about anything? What do you think, Gray Goddess?
I most definitely agree. A lot of them are not talking from actual real experiences. They're speaking from bits and pieces of stories from many other people that they hear, which also means that a lot of pertinent information has been left out of those stories, but they will present them to you as if they are really facts. And a lot of them just are not doing a living, anything like what they're projecting and exposing you to. They're not doing or living that certain life, but we live in the age of grinding and hustling and making money. And a lot of times people will hustle you and sell you a dream and an idea to make their money. So you have to be mindful of that.
That is so true, Gray Goddess. And another thing with these dating gurus, a lot of people call themselves that, or relationship coaches. Really, you got to look at those credentials. Watch the credentials. Okay. And a lot of people talk from a perspective of resentment. And if you notice, a lot of these Black male YouTubers, there's a lot of resentment of women in general, and what they say and what they do and their attitude towards women. And it's not very kind, and it's not very, very gentlemanly. A lot of it is just trash. What do you say, Gray Goddess?
I would say, yeah, a lot of that is a lot of their talking points do come from, hatred and anger and resentment and jealousy too.
Oh, definitely, definitely. There's a lot of jealousy to go around, right? Jealousy is basically, insecurity, and and some people have this erroneous idea that, oh, if a man is jealous, acts jealous, when you're out, that's not that's not care, that's possession.
Yes.
And that's possession and insecurity. And possession plus insecurity is jealousy, and it can be freaking dangerous. That is a dangerous equation, and he's going to pop off on you one day, and it's going to come out of left field, and he's going to say, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," but it only escalates. Okay, so don't waste your time with somebody like that. And of course, with the online dating piece, there's a whole bunch of old studies and stuff. Forget that. You don't need a whole bunch of Cheerios in the bowl, or a whole bunch of, different Lucky Charms in your bowl to figure out which one you like. Okay. And I think people need to be more realistic about dating. And I think the world of Instagram and TikTok has just turned it on its head. What do you think, Grey Goddess?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was talking about social media pretty much. Instagram, TikTok, has really an online dating and match services has really affected the dating realm, and you don't need a whole lot of people to figure out that you just need one.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with that. I do feel like social media and just, I mean, all the platforms and technology has just really confused people on the right way to go about dating and interacting with the opposite sex. I just feel like it just makes people have a delusional idea about how they think things should happen when you're interacting with the opposite sex. I most definitely do think that is an issue. A lot of people don't tend to live in reality. Their expectations are not realistic a lot of the times due to where we're at with technology and social media.
And the movies, Lord, relationships are not like the movies. Dear God. Uh, you know, someone, actually a baby boomer one time, uh, gave me a quote out of a movie. Um, Being in love or something means never having to say you're sorry. No, that's BS. Take it from somebody, married person here. Being in love does definitely mean that you have to apologize, eat crow sometimes to keep a relationship together. And it is more important to care about your feelings and the other person's feeling than somebody being right or correct. Okay? Keep that in your back pocket. It can take you a long way. What do you say, Grey Goddess?
I most definitely agree with that because being in love does mean that you say sorry because um, if you're dealing with someone who you care deeply about and you respect them as a person and you value your relationship and something does happen where you have to apologize, you should apologize and you will want to because you value their friendship, your relationship, and amongst other things. So that that statement is completely unrealistic.
But it was in a movie. It was in a movie. And basically, don't date unless you have some amount of self-knowledge. Okay? I mean, people have different selves about them. They show a face at work, they show a face at church or wherever, they show a face at parties, they show a face and a lot of people have developed a lot of faces. And you think, dang, should we give them all different names? And the reason I say that is because be real. But in order for you to be real with someone else, you got to be real and get real with yourself. And oftentimes I see relationships and I think, in a way, it's kind of like, can my mental illness complement your mental illness and we work it together? Because everybody has struggles. Everyone has issues that they struggle with. And when you're in a relationship with somebody, let's say you've gotten past the dating phase and you're in a relationship with somebody, you really shouldn't put on airs. Show them who you are. And I try to I gave my daughter some advice and my son. I said, with men, if you're around them constantly for 100 days, at least 100 days, you can see who they are. Women can hide that crazy for at least a year or more. Okay. And I've heard tales of other women that got the ring on their fingers. And after that happened, they turned into a whole different person. And at the same token, I've heard women say, after we got married, he was completely different. He turned into a cold, awful, manipulative, underhanded bastard. And so you have to know what you can take and what you don't like, and that know yourself first before you try to union with somebody else. A lot of people are trying to get in these relationships. They're getting in and out because they don't know. Number one, they don't know themselves. They don't know what they want. They don't know themselves at all. And now the trick is to kind of figure out that in a person. But you a lot of times you won't know until some time has passed. But when time has passed and you figure out this person doesn't know who he is, what he wants, anything, ditch them. They got to go. Nobody is perfect. Okay, I'm not saying that you look for somebody who checks off all the boxes. Okay, there's a Netflix movie out called "Looks Good on Paper." That's a very funny movie, but it kind of summarizes what we've been talking about. You know, just because somebody looks good, makes enough money, da 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 da, doesn't mean that they're the best one for you. They may check your boxes, but they may be completely deceptive. And even if they are not deceptive, that still may not be the person that you click with. So, is
I
that
agree.
definitely? So, anything else you want to add, Grey Goddess?
Um, no, I believe that that's it for now.
Okay. Now, let's go into dating people of dating when you're divested, and let's say you're out with a person who is not a part of the collective, and you get nasty stares, crazy people, you know, making commentary on your relationship and they don't even know you. How do you react to that? Do you have any advice?
Um, in most situations, people just stare. They don't really say anything. I haven't been in a situation where anyone is just um outright being disrespectful. But I mean, I've been in situations where they just stare. They stare, and they might make a weird face, but I haven't been in situations like that. But what I would say is, to me, as long as no one is trying to get physical with you or put their hands on you, just ignore them. Let them, deal with whatever they're going through on their own, because that's their problem and not your problem.
Exactly. It's their issue, not yours. You be happy. You move along. You just enjoy your life. They're not paying one of your bills. Okay? And they're not protecting you from anything. They have no right to comment. And they can keep them comments to themselves. And if they don't, just ignore them. Don't even listen to it. And I think that is the perfect response to craziness. Now, if you're a divested Black woman and you're dating a person of another ethnicity, and sometimes African American males will say something. They will verbalize their discontent or some kind of, as if to punctuate your evening with their stupid comments. But even then, just act like they do not even exist or breathe. Okay. Um, Now, one more thing, Grey Goddess, I wanted to, I mean, we can go on forever about this, but about divested women going out. Now, a lot of young ladies like to go out to the club, okay? And they're beautiful. They're putting on their nice dresses or their nice shorts or their nice ankle pants and their stilettos, and they look beautiful, and they're going out and they look like models, and they want to have a good time. I have a cautionary tale for you. Uh, be careful and be aware of your surroundings at all time. There have been women who've gotten raped in or or assaulted in nightclubs. And make sure you're surrounded by a group of women that you can trust. Okay? I think that would be the safest thing. Now, nothing happens, nothing good, nothing good happens between midnight and 5 a.m. Okay? Nothing. Okay? Especially when drugs are involved and alcohol. There's nothing wrong with going out and having a good time. But at all times, be true to yourself, be aware of your surroundings, and do not go out alone. And be with some buddies that you can trust. Okay? Don't leave a woman behind. What do you think, Grey Goddess?
I would agree with that as well. And now I feel like that also plays into learning how to have discernment and use your better judgment as well.
Definitely. And you know what? You may not like it, but let people know where you're going. If you're going to be out that time of night, morning, like I said, midnight, between midnight and 5 a.m., that's a worrisome time for me and young people, because it's like, people get into accidents, and in a lot of places within the Black collective, somebody's going to pull out a gun somewhere, usually. And you don't want it raining bullets, okay? Just because you want to go dance and have a good time, okay? So pick out your places carefully. Anything else? Divested, Gray Goddess, you've been a wonderful, wonderful co-host today. And I thank you for that.
Thank you. I have enjoyed myself.
Well, we will invite you again, okay? We will definitely invite you again to another podcast, because we could definitely benefit from your wisdom. And thank you so very much.
You are very welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, that was Gray Goddess, and she's just a lovely woman, and she will be back on this show from time to time. But I hope you got a lot out of that. And if you want to give me some feedback, please email me at ebonyphoenixlive@gmail.com. And I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's it for this show. And I will be back at you again next week. Take care.